It is Tuesday, fresh out the shower. Gonna do my shave tomorrow because my first day of the work week starts Thursday this week. But before me and my son head to his school's orientation, as well as my orientation, because the students and the parents have orientation today, I wanted to get my thoughts off about something. Now, guys, when your children go to school, you essentially go to school as well, because you are the person that is supposed to be responsible for making sure they stay on track, help them with their homework. You are their support system. There's no other support system. If you think that you're just going to put them on the bus and let the teacher do all of the work, you are sadly mistaken, especially if you have an expectation. See, I have expectations with my son. He is a honor roll student. So if I am expecting him to make all A's and B's or all A's, I have to give him the support that he needs in order to achieve that. You cannot set an expectation on anyone, not just your kids, anybody, your significant other, your family members, if you are not giving them the essential support that they need. I never, ever, ever expect for a teacher to make my son smart. That is my responsibility. This is why he's been doing algebra and coding all summer long. He has not been in front of a TV the whole summer and not been doing anything productive of substance. No, he gets the work done and then he can go on YouTube, play video games, do whatever kids do. But the work has to get done first. If you don't have that type of mindset, then you cannot have a high expectation on your child. You have to give them everything that they need. You have to hold them accountable. But first, you got to hold yourself accountable and to a certain standard as a parent. So many parents let their kids run wild. This is why these teenagers are acting the fool across America, breaking the law, committing crimes, doing a whole bunch of degenerate things because parents expect these days for other people to raise their children. No, you are supposed to raise your children. You are supposed to hold them to a certain standard. You are supposed to hold them accountable for their actions. And this is why most people shouldn't have kids, because they're not willing to make the sacrifices, put in the work, put in the effort in order to make sure that they are a outstanding citizen, functional adults, responsible adults, law-abiding citizens. All right? So we go to school together, because I got to make sure that he stays on schedule, his work gets done, and once he's out of the house, then he can let loose and do whatever it is that he wants, but he still has a standard being my junior. That's why I named him after me. So I assume that responsibility, and I tell him all the time, look, dude, you have my name, so you have to represent yourself well the same way that I do. You have to be better than me in every aspect, and I am going to teach you everything that I know so you can be better. This takes effort. This takes work. This takes sacrifice, all right? And if you're not willing to do that, don't freaking have kids. We don't need any more of these YNs running around here. No, go get snipped. Go get cleaned out. Your reproductive organs, get them up out of you if you're not willing to do what it takes to make sure that your kids have everything that they need. Tuesday content starts right now. Good day, good people. It's AT Malone, the first of my name because the second is already here. If you haven't already, please like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell for more videos from your boy. Now, I just got back from attending my son's parent teacher principal orientation. I got a lot of good information because I brought my composition notebook with me so I can write down all of the things that I need to retain myself, as well as the information that I need to give to my sons. And I want to tell you parents this. Look, every school year, we should be making our presence known. We should be meeting and introducing ourselves to the teachers, the principals, the counselors, the police officers, all of the important figures that help run your kid's school. If you're not putting a name with a face, you're not as involved as you should. Plus, it's a hack. If you get a good relationship with these people, it's an extra set of eyes to monitor your child's behavior, their academics, and it allows them to hold your child accountable if they're doing something that they're not supposed to do. Every year, I make sure that these people know who I am. So if my son, which he doesn't because he's a great student, he doesn't get in trouble, but if he does, all they got to do is say, hey, I speak to your dad on a weekly basis, and if you continue this, I'm going to personally let him know. Boy, do you know what type of impact that creates in a child's life? That accountability, that built-in consciousness that we should have instilled in them already. Yes, it's important for us to do that. That way, they continue to be outstanding students. They don't be a pain in the ass. You don't have to sit there and have to discipline them because they're doing something that they're not supposed to do. See, I tell my son all the time that he does not have time to make bad grades. He does not have time to misbehave because we run this household like water. It's ever flowing, going to a specific destination. And any time that you do something you're not supposed to do, it's like a dam. So it stops the water from flowing. And if you want to live this lifestyle, this good life that you're living here, don't be the dam. Make sure that the water continues to flow so you can get the nourishment that you need and you can benefit off of it. So parents, make sure that you involve yourself in your schools, in your kids' school, all right? Make sure that you make your presence known there no matter what. So we are here, it's Tuesday, and you know why we're here. We are reading our new book called The Richest Man Who Ever Lived, King Solomon's Secret to Success, Wealth, and Happiness. And quick dialogue, remember, last week we were talking about Gary and Steve and how Steve ran into hard times. He couldn't find a job. He couldn't run a successful business. He asked Gary for insight and Gary prayed about it. And the next day he told Steve that he needs to read the book of Proverbs. So the way that this chapter is set up is basically a blueprint to the whole book. And it starts off with some of the things that we already discussed, but we're going to run through it anyway, right? So it's titled How the Richest Man Who Ever Lived Can Make You Happier, More Successful, and Wealthier. So it has a contrast, and it's speaking about Steve's situation. So imagine going from a below average wage to more than $600K per month. Imagine losing 9 jobs right after college to building more than a dozen $1 million businesses from scratch, generating billions of dollars in sales. Following specific steps taught by King Solomon in the Old Testament book of Proverbs helped Steve achieve these outcomes. Now, before he read the book of Proverbs, he earned less than half than the average income earner. But after he read the book of Proverbs, his income rose from $18,000 a year to $7 million. That's a lot of money, man. So before he was diagnosed as a corporate failure with a 0 success rate. But after he had a 29-year career success rate of over 60% when the average is under 1%. There was a time where Steve violated 3 of Solomon's warnings and lost millions and his marriage fell apart. But when he started following Solomon's advice, everything got restored. Now, we as human beings are hard-headed, especially when we become teenagers and young adults. We think we know every single thing when we don't know shit. Nothing at all. We don't have enough life experience to know everything. But we go through that phase. But if we have good parents, if we have somebody like a mentor that we can look up to that, has instilled certain principles within us and we give them good advice, they'll listen to us. But you got to beat information down your kid's head, all right? They're going to have their own way of thinking. We know that. But it's ultimately up to us to make sure that they continue to listen, but we got to show and prove too. We have to have a great success rate as far as giving advice, making good decisions. In my life, I had a parent that always told me bad things to do, all right? Gave me terrible, horrible advice, and I don't listen to them at all. And when they did give me good advice, I didn't take it because they had a success rate of telling me bad advice. So parents, make sure that whenever you are teaching your kids, you're raising them, that you make sure that you guide them in the right direction, all right? So just as there are physical laws that govern the physical universe, Solomon reveals laws of living that invisibly govern all aspects of life. For an example, which I really like, when you board an airplane, the laws of gravity and aerodynamics govern your ultimate destiny. The pilot has to operate in accordance with those laws. If not, the plane will not return to the ground safely or leave the ground at all. It doesn't matter how you feel about these laws, whether you love them or hate them, whether you choose to ignore them or not, they still exist. This is for physical laws that govern the universe as well as the laws of living. Solomon reveals these laws in the book of Proverbs and shows us how to use these laws to our advantage. Some people act in accordance with these laws without fully understanding them or knowing them at all. They gain a level of success and happiness by doing so. But ignoring or just being ignorant of these laws create barriers to sustain success and fulfillment. In reality, it's better to learn these laws and how to use them. And then it goes to the prayer of Solomon. And I talked about some of this stuff last week, but we're going to get into it. It talks about Solomon's date of birth, being the son of David. And what stood out was God appearing to Solomon and asking him what he wanted. Solomon asked for knowledge and wisdom so he could rightly judge the people of Israel. And since he didn't ask for riches, wealth, honor, the life of his enemies, nor a longer life for himself, God told him that he would give him more wisdom, more knowledge, the riches, wealth, and honor than any king before or after him. Now, imagine if God asked you what you wanted. Would you ask for a longer life? Would you ask for more wealth? Would you ask for, getting rid of your enemies? I ask myself that because I do pray for wealth. I do pray for knowledge. I do pray for wisdom as well, but I probably don't need to pray for wealth, because if you get blessed with the knowledge of wisdom, you can create wealth on your own with the information that God gives you as far as that knowledge and that wisdom. Plus, who wants to live forever? If you think about it, if you live forever, that's like torture. You're going to get into multiple relationships, watch your loved ones perish over and over and over and over again. You're going to continue to have kids, right? And you're going to have to bury them, which is not what it's supposed to be. Your kids are supposed to bury you, not the other way around. So ask yourself that. If God came down right now and asked you what you wanted, what would you ask for? All right. So moving on. What God promised was delivered. In terms of wealth, Solomon would have been a trillionaire considering his gold reserve. He had 4,000 stalls for his horses and kept 12,000 horsemen on his payroll. Rulers from different nations sought his advice and paid dearly for it. So he was running it up, man, being a, consort, right? So, but he did begin to violate the laws of living during the middle of his life and its principles and strategies. And the result was losing his success and happiness. Now, we're going to cracking Solomon's code, and it talks about the real treasures which are buried deep inside the actual proverb. Example, Solomon implores us in chapter 2, verse 4 to search for wisdom and knowledge as we would search for silver or buried treasure. To do this, you have to look beneath the surface, its context, even the Hebrew words. So, what can Solomon's wisdom do for you? And these are my top 10. It's 22 in this chapter. I said knowledge, good judgment, longer life, honor, financial abundance, true wisdom, understanding, extraordinary achievement, success, and better health. Those were mine, all right? You read this book and you can figure out which ones are yours. But these are the ones that stood out to me because these are the things that I deem as necessary in order for me to take my life and the people around me's life to the next level. All right. So Solomon gives us powerful strategies and life-changing tactics for achieving extraordinary outcomes. These are not just a collection of general principles. Solomon's writings provides precise steps that can be taken in your personal and professional life. Steve says that he focuses on the strategies and steps articulated in the Bible book of Proverbs that he's applied in every area of his life. So he's going to offer simple techniques that he's implemented Solomon's advice in his daily life. And at the end of each chapter, Steve adds a section called Knowledge to Wisdom. These exercises are to enable us to apply Solomon's advice in a practical and powerful way. And that was all of chapter 1. So it's basically a setup for what is to come. This book is going to be very intricate, but I like the fact that Steve is going to give us a breakdown on how to interpret things because the Bible is extremely difficult to interpret. Okay. I've read the Bible and let me tell you something. Some of this stuff sounds like gibberish. I do not understand. And I know that we are supposed to pray for understanding before we start reading the Bible, but some things, it just don't work out like that. We just do not get that understanding. So it's smart of us to actually go to somebody that does interpret the Bible the way that it should be interpreted and breaks it down to where we can understand what's going on. So I'm looking forward to chapter 2. Now, chapter 2 is going to be a long chapter, so it's probably going to be, a lot of parts in there, but it's going to be that viable information that we need in order to us to be successful, to be happy, and to build that wealth. All right. Well, that is Tuesday's content. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys follow the journey with me because I am learning. This is the second time that I'm reading this book, and I haven't read this book in a few years, so this is brand new to me. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch y'all later. Peace.
Feel like they trying to box me in, so I keep a small circle around me, so fuck friends, but I